Thanks for joining the Mike on Mike show. Today, Dwayne Yunker in the house. How you doing, Dwayne?
I'm doing great. It's been a busy day for been on 2 radio shows today and now you. So it's been a busy day.
Yeah. Dwayne, if people don't know, Mr. Dwayne Yunker, Rep. Dwayne Yunker, is running for re-election for District 3, isn't it?
House District 3, yes.
House District 3. How's that going?
I think it's going well for me. I mean, I'm the incumbent. I've been doing it for a while now, and I have a great voting record. I mean, I'm the most conservative voting record in the House of Representatives, the most libertarian voting record in the House of Representatives. Endorsed by ORCOPS, which is the Sheriffs and Cops Association, and businesses. I'm right for life. I think it speaks volume from where I stand and where I've stood up there in the House of Representatives and voting and speaking out against I think the evil that comes out of there.
So, what is going on right now in the state? What are the big issues? The
big issues right now, well, we just filed a referendum for Senate Bill 1507,
right,
which is the tax disconnect. I think it's the clawback from businesses, right, is what we're talking about.
We were just talking about that before the show because I have commercial real estate. Everybody knows that by this point. And so when things touch me, I react. And, I just got offered by the federal government basically that if I had some huge outlay this year, like I had to replace an HVAC unit or replace my roof or something, that I don't have to depreciate that over, 25 years or 15 years or different time periods for different depreciation schedules. And that would be huge for me because otherwise I get a little teeny bit of it back. And as we were talking about before the show, on an HVAC unit, that you have to depreciate that over 25 years. And Dwayne, the first thing he said is that it's not going to make it that long.
It won't make it that long. And I mean, that's just your AC unit. We're talking about business owners that have other things, farmers that have tractors and stuff like that.
Right.
It means a lot to them when fuel costs are there. These people rely on as many tax breaks we can give them. Also, we already tax our business a lot, like the CAT tax. If people don't know what the CAT tax, that's the receipt tax that grossly of $1 million you pay taxes on. Not how much you profited, it's the gross amount of money. So you can be a business that puts a lot of revenue through there, but it's not profit, and you're paying taxes. And that happens everywhere in Oregon. We have a $140 billion budget, which is about $17 billion above inflation for the last 10 years. So we are just continuing to spend.
Well, you know what? The thing is that businesses need every break that they can get. And it's very, very short-sighted to try and cut this off because this would spur a tremendous amount of investment in people's property, and that puts a lot of people to work. There's a lot of economic activity that happens. If I buy a HVAC unit, I can't put it up there myself. I have to hire a crane. I've got a couple of friends in the HVAC business that will help me with the hookups and everything. But, there's money going into the economy when that happens. And that's good for everybody here. And when you cut people off, and there are some people that look at this and they go, more tax breaks for rich people. I'm just a guy trying to get by. And, when I see a circumstance that's going to be beneficial to me and I'm not going to get screwed over the next 25 years and I can write it all off this year, hallelujah.
Yeah, I call it the cycle of money is kind of the thing I've always talked about is if you have money in your pocket, you're probably going to spend more money. Then that money, you go to the restaurant or you go to the small business downtown, and then that person has employees and they spend money and they buy stuff. And it's just a cycle we have of going around and everybody's benefited from you making money
Right.
and them making money, and it just continues
We used
on.
to call that trickle down economics, and people, they made memes about it on the left of, rich people peeing on poor people or some darn thing like that. But that is really what it is. If I have more money in my pocket, I'm going to spend more money. That's
what it is.
That's just human nature.
Yeah, your people are going to travel here. We're going to do tourism. We're going to do vacations. We're going to do all these things that benefit Josephine County. But when you don't have money, what happens? No one spends anything. They do just buy the essentials.
Yeah.
and live food.
That's what I do. I live like I have a minimum wage job. Because I don't know what's coming. And when you're in the business that I am, you never know when some big thing is going to hit you and you're going to have to spend $40,000,
If you're not saving, you're probably going to be hit hard, and it's going to be tough for you.
Right.
Especially when you thought that the federal government was going to give you a tax break this year, and then the Democrats and the governor came along and said, no, not here in Oregon, which we're already overtaxed. We're the highest taxes in the country. And we have a death tax at $1 million. I mean, it's the worst in the nation.
So when you say there's a death tax at $1 million, what you're saying is there's an exemption of $1 million, and then they start taxing you after that? Is that the deal?
Exactly. Once you hit that threshold of $1 million, they start, it's a state tax. You're a state, So you're
and what's the rate? Do you pay standard income rate like 9% or whatever?
Well, it'll be definitely higher than 9%. 9% because it's at $1 million. So you're probably making $800,000 versus $1 million if you were going to inherit it.
Right. Yeah. I went through this when my father died. 25 years ago, and it was a situation in the U.S. at the time. There was a $750,000 deduction, and they hit you 55% of everything above that. Now, today, they're, essentially, if you're under like 5 million or something like that, there's no federal estate tax. And so even in the circumstance now with Oregon, starting to charge, but I paid California estate taxes and federal. I made my wife write some of these checks so she never forgets, where this money is going. I felt like, I hope that by, something valuable or usable or beneficial with that instead of just shooting it out of a cannon like they do with most all the money we give them.
Yeah, but some of these places are family businesses, family farms. They're taking the family farm. They're taking the family business.
That's right.
You've already earned the money, though.
And people that have lived their life without saving any money or anything like that, they don't have any sympathy for these sort of problems. But the reality is, if you own a home in today's world, you're probably going to get up above that at some point when the total assets are going to be in excess of $1 million, and then you're going to be paying whatever it is you pay over that.
Well, you're getting taxed when you make money. You're getting taxed when you spend money. You get taxed when you buy gas.
Yeah.
You get taxed everywhere, and now you get taxed when you die.
Yeah.
And you're not even here anymore.
Yeah, but the thing about that is you're not taxing a dead person. A dead person doesn't care.
Yeah, but you're taxing their loved ones, and their loved ones. Yeah. That's family money.
Yeah, that's right. That's what makes generational wealth benefits everybody that comes after you. And I think people need to appreciate. I think really, most people out there in today's world, they understand this sort of thing. If you want to benefit your children with anything, a non-predatory government is what you want.
Yeah, and the reason why we need to tax everybody is because of these social programs we continue to grow. And that's why they continue to want more money, is social programs. Well,
and as recently exposed, there is a tremendous amount of fraud out there that is, just, I don't know what percentage of any given budget, but there's a whole bunch of examples that you can point to. The high-speed rail in California, the $24 billion that they don't know what happened to it. There's $150 million, I think it is, in Portland that they've spent on homeless over the past. And I'm not saying that all government expenditures, in the homeless realm are waste.
We're spending about $1.2 billion just on illegals here in the state of Oregon every 2 years in our biennial budget. Right. We're also spending, you see the Dan Rayfield, which is our, DOJ basically here. And now he's going after Medicaid fraud. And I started that back last fall when I met with the federal government. I went out to D.C. and say, hey, we got fraud here in the state. There's something happening. And now you see, now the Dan Rayfield's jumped on and we're trying to get the fraud out of Medicaid.
Yes.
We're trying to get the fraud out of this.
Listen, you know who you can thank for this? 23-year-old Nick Shirley.
Yes.
Because he put it out there to mass exposure, and now these people know that they actually have to start doing something. Down there in California, Newsom is trying to steal the thunder from him, acting like he's the one who's been after the fraud the whole time.
It's the same here in Oregon. They didn't want to do anything. I would put out press releases. I would put out requesting information. I flew all the way to D.C. I sat down with the investigation team that's for the house there, and I said, hey, this is what I see happening. There's definitely fraud happening here in Medicaid. Things are being, we're paying for things that shouldn't be part of Medicaid. There's an expansion of Medicaid here, which pays for illegals, which we know that's wrong too. And then that's just a part of. In Portland, we spent $15 million for a Black Excellence, which is so racist. Now I was on the phone with DOJ when that came out, and then did a press release. Hey, these things are racial. This is the things I've been doing that are just not money bringing home, but hey, these people are spending our money. They're doing things that are illegal, that are against the Constitution, constantly fighting back at these programs.
And all of these programs that we're talking about that we now have some knowledge of because we watch YouTube, these are, if you look at a pie graph, the slice of this that you're looking at is so thin you probably couldn't even see it. That's how much fraud and waste there is that they just aren't paying any attention to. And would you care to speculate why they weren't paying any attention to this?
I could speculate. I think, for me, their donors base comes out of that fraud. From what I see.
So draw me a diagram on that. What are we talking about?
So you got the nonprofit world. I call them the industrial complex of homelessness. And it's really hard to just one picture.
Probably nonprofits across a multitude of categories.
Yeah, there's good ones and bad ones, but there's certain ones you see these. You got Seating Justice, which is a huge one up in Portland. That money's funneled into the Seating Justice for all kinds of environmental stuff, all kinds of things here that are taxpayer dollars that go out to ideology for the Democratic side, the governor, and then it funnels them. Then they were able to make investments back into their candidates. You have NGOs.
So what you're saying is, though, and we all suspect this is the case, we don't really have the flow chart, is that there's a funding loop that is happening here, where they keep a blind eye and throw money to these NGOs without really much scrutiny, and the payback for that is that their campaigns will be supported.
Yeah, we started out at Senate Bill 1507 talking about that, and why isn't government cutting back on personnel here in Oregon? Well, those people are part of SEIU and all these other unions. Well, who donates to the SEIU?
Yes, of course.
It goes
of
back
course.
to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
That's who funnels money. You don't see Republicans getting SEIU money.
Right.
It's always going to the Democrats. It's always going to the governor, the Teachers Association. So if they can keep as many government employees possible, that's more dues, that's more money back to their coffers, and that's how they feed their campaigns.
Yes.
So it's all deal to money, greed. That's where the dollars go. Everything's a business. Planned Parenthood's the same thing. I mean, the federal government said we're not going to pay for Planned Parenthood anymore. But guess what? The Democrats gave them, well, I think it was 7.5 in the fall, and then they gave them another 9 million in this last budget. And so it's just more funneling to their organizations. Well, who sponsors them? Who gives money to the Democratic Party? Is these NGOs, these groups. And Republicans don't have that capability in Oregon. We can't give money to them because we're not in charge. It's a single party leadership.
You don't own the apparatus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just in there, trying to do the best I can, not trying to vote for Democratic bills because I see they're so bad, and push back as hard as I can. That's what I see going on up there. And if you don't toe a line, here's a good example. So there's 2 Democrats up north right now. Daniel Wynn is their House representative, and you got Solomon, which is a senator, and they didn't toe the line the way the Democrat SEIU wanted, or which is OEA, Oregon Education Association, and the Democratic Socialist Party, and they're going after them because they were too moderate on some votes. And so they're trying to primary them because they're too moderate of a Democrat. But so that's what they do there. And guess who? Their money comes from what? Us taxpayers. Because it all funnels through these unions or whatever groups it is.
Right.
So we're paying for them to be primaried. That's the way I look at it.
Nice. And so what you end up with is the leftist of the left, I would assume.
Yeah, I even called those 2 representing the Senate. I said, I hope you win. Me calling a Democrat and saying I hope you win, because the alternative is even worse.
Wow.
I don't want a worse Democrat up there. I want someone I can work with, hopefully a little bit. It's got some, you know what? These are good policies or bad policy. And I'm not saying those are the best Democrats. I'm just saying the alternative is even worse.
Well, so in a recent interview that I did with your opponent, Seth Benham, he suggested that you have a tone issue and that you can't really work across the aisle.
I believe that young man is being misled. We'll just go to one bill.
Well, you were speaking to examples of Democrats that you would work with.
Yes.
And so...
Well, Daniel Wynn, Representative Daniel Wynn, he's the chair of our economic development and small businesses. I brought him down a year ago, February, him and 2 other vice chairs, and he sat over at the ambassador, and Terry from the Hopkins from the business community brought people in, and we just sit there and listen to what the community had to say. I think that's working across the aisle. That's bringing people, Democrats down to listen to the business community. Daniel has always been a great supporter of mine. I actually went to Vietnam on a trade mission with Daniel. We get along really great. He's a business owner, actually. So that is working across the aisle. But what I won't do is I won't vote for really bad policies. I won't do that stuff. And I've always told them that. I say, hey, I'm going to do what's right for my community, my district, and what's good for the state of Oregon.
So what do you suppose that he was referring to? I asked him, to give me an example, and he didn't really do that. Have you any idea what he's talking about there? Or?
I think he doesn't like my pushback. I've heard this, here and there, that he doesn't like how I speak on the floor. He calls it rhetoric. I call it standing up for my values. And the reason why this, and The young man he says he's a Christian, and I would say, okay, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, we actually go to the same church. And God tells us to call out evil. And actually in Ephesians 5:11, it says that. You're supposed to call out the evil. And if you're not calling out, you're surrendering to the evil. And that's the way I look at it. As I'm not going to surrender to the evil. I'm going to call out when they're transitioning children, when they're, doing bad policies, of tax organizations like 1507. He doesn't want to talk about ideology or things up there. Well, that's all that's going on up there. We had 8 bills just on illegal immigration in there. Well, I don't want to pay for illegals here.
Right.
Am I not about the schools?
And you can risk being called a bad person or a Nazi or a fascist or something like that if you do speak out against that. So, and I wish I had an anecdote from that interview to play for you so that you could respond directly to it, but you have to speculate.
Yeah, he said approach. That was one of his saying. Yes. Approach matters. And I would say, yeah, it does. I've stood up strong. When they were trying to pass this bill that taking parents' rights away about the books in our schools. And I think it's very easy for this young man to talk about, that when his children go to private school. Well, I deal with everybody in this community, the whole district. Not everybody has their kids in the private school. They can't afford that. They have them in public school. Shouldn't parents have the right to speak up when they don't want these dirty books in the schools?
I think there's very few parents that want those books in there. And yet it seems like a constant drumbeat to try and put this stuff in the schools. I watched a Three Rivers school board meeting here when they were having a guest via video from the Library Association. She was the librarian of the year or something like that. And she was telling them basically, hey, you guys better back off, of this because you're stepping on shaky legal ground. And, they're potentially putting these school board members at personal risk for making stands on things, and legally liable somehow.
But aren't we as adults supposed to call out and stand up for our children or anything it is? If there's tampons in boys' bathroom, or we're telling people a young boy he could be a girl or a girl could be a boy. I mean, these are just confusing times. Are we not supposed to stand up as a legislator that's appointed for this district, a very conservative district, to say, right, this is not what my community says they want? That's what I'm supposed to be their voice. Yeah. And by not being their voice, I've surrendered to their ideology. That's the way I look at it. I'm going to fight against the ideology. That's because I was sent there to do that. My goal is not there just to see how much money I can bring back to our district. That is not the goal. The goal is to protect the taxpayers, the residents of this community, in this district, for their rights to choose. Like, I'm even looking at this. Oregon has taken away so many rights of parents. At 14 years old now, your daughter, your son, can make decisions to alter their bodies. They can get abortions, and they can do all kinds of things in the hospital without you knowing or you allowed to know about that. I think that's that is so bad that here we are. We have a person that can't vote, buy guns, nothing, but they can mutilate their body. Yeah. They can go do other things. Destroy
their life, be reproductively non-viable for the rest of their life, potentially. Yeah.
And so I'm the adult in the room calling out this bad behavior. That's what men are supposed to do. That's the way I look at it. Men are supposed to stand up for even the weakest and defend everything out there.
So do you suppose that perhaps it's thinking like if you are disruptive in that way and perhaps provoke dislike amongst some of the more left-wing members of the representative corps there, that they're not going to go along with you on funding for your county or something like that?
Oh, I think it's
Again,
totally.
I have to speculate because I don't know.
Yeah, I had to. So I passed a bill this session, and you get 2 bills this session. I passed 4160 was my cardiac bill, and this would probably surprise people.
That's about defibrillators
in the school.
Right,
So
yes.
yeah, but just to use the bill as an example, the people that testify with me are 2 gay men. You know, one's a black guy. One of them's a Democratic socialist, but he came along with me, sat down, and testified with me on the committees, and came along with me and said, and fought with these bills with me. That is, because they're a good policy. And I'll always work with people when I know they're good policy. There's a lady that sits in front of me on the floor. Her son, he's an adult, is a trans female. I always tell her, hey, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to talk about a certain issue on the floor. I'm going to have a speech. And I always let her know that. And I said, hey, you can either get up, whatever you want to do. She writes me letters at the end of the session every year and thank me how kind I am, even though we disagree on things, and said, you're always, even though you have a different belief system, you're always polite to me and tell me when you're going to do stuff or something that might offend me. And I appreciate it about you. That is what you guys don't see. One of the other gay men that come along with me, him and I talk a lot, another representative, and he goes, know what, Dwayne? I know you're not homophobic, whatever. You just believe differently. And I appreciate that because you're always strong about your belief system. And if you take that belief system, there's probably many things we do believe a lot from. Just
Right.
like I don't believe things that he likes. I don't hate the man. He's a nice person usually. I just don't believe some of the things there. And I'm not asking him to change to my beliefs. I think that this is America. You have to be able to speak what you believe in
Right.
and speak. Another thing that happens on the floor that since I've been a part of it, there has been more dialogue on the floor. The floor is a place to debate issues. That's why it's there.
Right.
And the chief clerk, which is there's the speaker, but there's a chief clerk that knows all the rules, everything, quorum, how it's supposed to work. And the chief clerk told me this last year. He goes, since you've been involved, the dialogue on the floor has changed dramatically because people are debating the issues and speaking for their constituents. And that's what needs to happen. How do people know where you stand if you're not speaking out about the issue?
Right. And this is a really good point because let's say you get up there and you make some speech that some people are like, whoa, man, I can't believe you said that. That's dangerous. You can have somebody else in someone else's district that sees that and gives a call to their own legislator and says, hey, you see what that guy was saying? Yeah, I support that. And that puts a bug in that guy's ear, so it has a greater influence than at the time.
Yeah, I get emails from other side districts all the time saying, I wish you were my representative. It's nice. I get our own, but thank you for speaking out on these issues. They're important to me. Obviously, I get the opposite too sometimes.
Yeah,
I get all the crazy letters too.
Sure.
Because
sure you do.
If you can make about 60% of the people happy, you're really probably doing well.
That's right.
Because you're never going to make every 100% of the people happy. And so there has to be there's no balance. People got to understand there's no balance in Salem. Where there's a majority party that has a super majority, and then there's a minority party, which is the Republican Party, which I belong to. They can pass taxes, they can pass all the bills, everything they want without Republicans. So all I have is a voice and a vote up there, and I have to speak out for you. You're my constituent. You live in my district, and if I don't speak out, I'm not doing my job for you either. People write me, they testify. And I look at those things. Now, I don't call everybody back because when we're in session, sometimes we'll get 200 or 300 emails in a day.
Wow.
And so you're getting these phone calls, and my chief of staff goes through them and returns what calls need to. Some are just messages, some are hate, whatever, because everybody gets those up there.
Right.
And so you go through them and you do your best. And who's going to weigh in at the end of the day? It's going to be the voters. I'm not taking a soft Democratic approach to this. I'm taking a conservative approach because that's what our county is. Our county is a very conservative county. Now, not everybody might like that. I know that. And it's not like I don't hate them or, whatever. It's just I have to go with the majority of people here. Just like the voters are going to come out. They voted me last time 67.4%. And when I was running for city council, it was 68%. Obviously, the majority of the voters wanted me in office. They like what I'm doing. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing as long as the voters want me there. If they don't, I'll go back to doing real estate. That's just how I look at it.
So in this county, and you're driving around, you notice certain things, that there are basically two political factions in this town, in this county. You see certain candidates are grouped, their signs are all grouped together, and the other all grouped together, or generally speaking. Why do you think that is?
I think this is for supporters. Now, this is my perspective. I look at Stars, where people put their money at. For a candidate, that's where we record it at. You look who endorses people, and I would say the people that are in my camp are the conservative camp. If you look at the other ones in the other camp, those are people that support Democrats. And I'm just looking at, because you look where the money comes from. Who's supporting, who's giving money to their candidates, who's endorsing them. And what I see is the other group is being endorsed by people that are more liberal, more democratic people. My group, I feel, is more conservative. They're smaller government people. They don't want to spend as much money. That's just my observation of the two groups. And it's watching the money, because it's hard to be a Democrat and get elected in Josephine County.
Right. Yes.
So you have to pick something.
Right.
There's people that become.
So what you're saying is essentially is that we basically have left-wing and right-wing Republicans that run around here, and Democrats for the most part don't bother, or they change party affiliation.
Well, we definitely had that, because a year or two ago we had, and I don't think it's a problem being a Democrat. My grandma was a Democrat. Which I think was a different kind of Democrat in the back. I just think the ideas are different. When we had a year or two ago, because we had recalls a couple years ago, and we had them last year again, right. We've seen people that were Democrats change their party to Republicans. And that, I'm wondering why. Well, why do they do that? We know they're not Republicans. We could tell by their actions or who they support. It's not a secret that, Democrats support Planned Parenthood. They support these social issues. They're more left-leaning. That's fine. That's where they put their camp at. But when you see them do that stuff, and then all of a sudden they become a Republican, you're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't change.
Something ain't right here.
You just changed the R on your political party, but you're still a Democrat, and we know that. So I see those things, or they.
Right, and I could see, and there's not very many situations where, like most, county issues are nonpartisan, although. It's weird. I don't really believe in that term, because people have their ideologies. So, if somebody states their party affiliation, it does say something about them, but, this is where we're at. This is a conservative county. If you want to get elected here, you generally have to be more conservative.
It's what it is. I agree with you. The nonpartisan thing to me, is just a farce. We all, and I'm not saying because you're a Republican, you 100% believe of every single thing, but overall, you should believe in these very core values.
Right. And if you're nonpartisan, you go, well, I'm not going to state any of that stuff because I'm a nonpartisan for this office. Are you really? So you're not going to vote your core beliefs, and you somehow want to hide what your core beliefs are from the people that are going to vote for you. And why would you be doing that?
You're trying to deceive them.
You're trying to, yeah. That's kind of
deception.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I think for me, I'm not hiding who I am. I think I've laid out pretty well where I stand. I've been in this for 3+ years now as a politician now. I don't know if I like that word, but
yes.
But I've always stood where I am. Even people that I disagree with in speaking things, they know where I stand, and I have great debates. I think some of these people are, I mean, there is really smart people on the other side. Sometimes philosophy gets in their way,
Right.
but I don't think they're dumb. I think that, and sometimes we listen. I mean, I don't think Rob, I had a conversation with Rob Pell. He's a city councilor. He's been recalled before. Most people don't remember that.
That's right.
And he's back on. And
back in the day.
I spoke for Rod Pell for 2.5 hours the other day in a parking lot, I felt like. And we don't agree on everything, but we had this great conversation about.
Always when I have a conversation with Rob Pell, it's always good.
He's a very smart, intelligent man.
Yeah.
He weighs things out. Some of ideology, I think, a little bit on things.
Yeah.
But again, I've voted for him with him on the council. I voted against him on the council on things. And so, I just look at things my way. He looks at things his way.
Right.
I don't think Rob's hiding who he is, and I don't think I'm
definitely not.
I think Rob is very, I don't know if he's kind of, it depends on the subject where Rob stands on things. And he definitely more left than I am, a lot more.
Right.
He's not a Republican.
Right.
I don't think he's on some issues. He's a Democrat, but he's a Democrat on a lot of other things.
We had extensive conversations during COVID, and that affected him dramatically.
Yeah, I would think he's more right on the COVID issue.
That's right.
There's some other issues I don't know if he wants me to talk about. I think he's definitely more right on, but when it comes to a lot of other social issues, he's a lot more left on.
Yeah.
And thoughtful on.
But you know what? I respect that guy because, he doesn't speak in party talking points or whatever.
No.
He's a human being and it speaks to you very genuinely. So.
Yeah, he I've known Rob for for a while now, and I really like talking to him because for me, that type of voter challenges me more because he comes at you with really good facts too.
Right. Yeah.
It's not only does he have some ideology, but he does the research too.
Right.
He is a very smart.
Yeah, he's not coming at you with the stereotypical, what you might expect, you fascist, whatever,
Yeah, release the Epstein files. I get those all the time. You're a pedophile because you like Trump, and I get all those. But up there in Salem, we have those people. The other day I got asked from a senator legislator sign the 25th Amendment. Support whatever. I'm like, okay, go away. And then we have people up there that just had a baby. They call themselves a birthing person. I'm like, whoa, these things are just crazy to me. You're not a birthing person. You're a woman. Only women can have babies. There is a freedom to do and express how you are. I really love that part. But what I don't like about the left a lot of times is if you must believe.
Yeah, the force
believing system.
Yeah, that's right.
Or you must call me with a pronoun. Why can't I just call you my?
And if you don't, you're a bad person.
You're a bad person because you didn't believe my system. Well, I'm not asking everybody to believe Christianity. You're a bad person.
Right.
I think you're wrong, but I still. I have a lot of people I know that don't go to church. That's fine. This is America. I spent 21 years in the military. I know what it is to support this country, and I like that freedom, and I love that freedom. Now, I wish you were along with me, but I don't hate you, and I would never want to take your rights away. I think the left always wants to take our rights away, and that's why I'm up there boldly talking, is because of the rights being taken away or tax you to death, basically. And I'm gonna talk about those. I don't want people telling my children what they are, or these ideology things, or the world's coming down because climate change is going to whatever. They continue. That's what's costing us money up there, is because all this ideology. So I'm going to fight back. I've always been a fighter to do what's right. I've done that my whole life. I stand on my principles. Have I been wrong before? Yes, we've all been wrong. I've ate crow before.
Yeah.
I made a bad decision. But I think every day I go there and try to make the best decision. And I think my voting record's done that. That's why I have the most conservative rate. And when libertarian gives me the highest libertarian, that's the freedom part of things. You to make choices what's good for you and everybody else.
What I want government to do is I want government to take less of my money and try to control me less, because they don't have any other power in any other place in my life, but taking money from me and then putting controls on my behavior.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's just talk about the money that's come through Oregon. I mean, we probably should hit that, but I have a list here. I brought. Let's see if I can have it here. Of money that came. What I hate about taxes is when they take your money and they reallocated it back with strings attached.
Yes.
So Business Oregon gets their money through the legislature. We vote a bill to give them a certain amount of money to do certain things.
Okay, so what is Business Oregon?
So Business Oregon gives grants. It does a lot of things. I really don't care for Business Oregon, but it's like the mechanism.
So is it an NGO or
No, it is actually part of the state.
Okay.
It's a state government.
Okay.
We oversee it in my economic development, small business, and trade. So everything that comes through. So, for instance, we got grants for water things here. We got several grants for water. Grants passed got here. Probably almost $15,000 and $15 million in grants came. Not that much actually. $12 million in grants came last year in 2025, came to the city of Grants Pass. All those came through Business Oregon because Business Oregon is the place you apply for these grants.
So when you say water, what does that pertain to?
It's all about the water treatment facility.
Oh, I see.
So we got grants coming back to Grants Pass from the state.
Good.
And for almost twice,
maybe they can lower my water and sewer bill just a little bit.
My opponent voted to raise yours last November, so but
thank you.
But there are some other grants we got here. Here's one that really bothers me. So the Democrats wanted to pass this daycare thing because we want more government daycare. Their Democratic daycare, the government daycare, costs taxpayers $12 per child an hour. Private one's around $6. That's about average. It could give or take a little bit. So now the government is involved, the state's involved, paying for daycare for certain people, and now it's picking winners and losers. Last year, It gave $700,000 to a person here in Josephine County to buy another person's daycare. They didn't build a new daycare, didn't start a new daycare. They gave your tax dollars $700,000 to buy a daycare off of somebody. That's just crazy.
They gave that person that much money?
$700,000 grant.
Wow. Man, I'm not gaming the system here enough. I'm going to have to start studying.
We gave some small loans through Business Oregon. We gave $160,000 to someone to buy a tavern here. We should be buying taverns now.
Oh yeah.
So these are the things and I'm okay with the water infrastructure, things like that benefit the community. Right. What I don't like is
because we're paying that out in taxes anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. That benefits everybody here. But we shouldn't be picking winners and losers. We shouldn't be giving millionaires grants to renovate inside their buildings here in Grants Pass, downtown Grants Pass. You're picking winners and losers, and not everybody benefits from those kinds of things. Now there's things for science and things like that were grants for young kids and stuff like. I love those things, but those benefit all kids. All kids can be part of those things. All people can be part of the infrastructure. The Spalding money we got, that's going to benefit the whole Grants Pass. It's not for one person. The fairgrounds, we got a $1.5 million for the fairgrounds. That's a community place. Everybody in the community uses the fairgrounds for one thing or another. We do events there. We have concerts there. We have horse races in there, emergency things there. That is a place that we all can benefit from. Then there's other areas that they're not. The library got money in 2024, $400,000. They're their own NGO.
Right.
This one's a little bit not as much. I don't really like this one. This is in 2024 where I was like, the Oregon Cave Chateau got $400,000. Well, that's a federal entity up there. It's not a state entity, and we're taking state money now and giving it, and they've asked for more. Now, I don't have anything against the Oregon Caves. I've been there as a child. My wife.
But the feds have more money than we do.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Josephine County is basically a debtor county. We are taking more than we're pushing out because we have a huge population of some kind of subsidy in this county or don't pay taxes. Like 45% of Cave Junction is on Medicaid or something, some kind of assistance somewhere, or housing or stuff like that. Well, those people are not paying taxes. Who's paying those taxes? Everybody else. We have lots of roads here that are state-owned roads. We got 199. We got Williams Highway, Rogue River Highway, 6th and 7th Street. These are all roads that this come from state tax dollars. All these state entities, your schools, your money goes up, plus the state joins. A lot of money is coming back in millions and millions of dollars back to Josephine County in grants and other things for Josephine County. Now, I would love to take as much as we can from the state all the time, but we are getting a lot of money back here to run for our cities, our counties. There is a lot of money flowing here, but at some point we really have to look at, is the spending too much?
Yeah, it's true.
Is it the necessities we want? You know, I look at necessities as law enforcement, firefighters, roads, schools. These are things that we all benefit from.
Well, and if they'd let us cut some trees, there'd be plenty of money flowing in here for all that stuff.
We would be a lot better off if we were back like the 70s.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, in the 70s, I think it was the late 70s, before there was any property tax in this county. There was none before that.
We had wealth. We talk about that wealth again.
Yeah.
People had jobs. There was mills. Then what do those people do? They spent their money in the community. There's a reason why if you go downtown now that there's more empty buildings today than there was 2 years ago, because small and pop businesses are folding because you and I don't have the money because, well, is it you and I, I'm talking about everybody like us,
Of course.
doesn't have the money to spend down there. That's because there's not the jobs. There's not those growth of things. We need jobs to spend money downtown. That's why we have empty buildings, because those are niche, most of those things.
Right.
That's not a necessity. You know, you don't go downtown for necessities usually. You go to Walmart or grocery store or where Winco, wherever. Those are necessities. You don't go downtown usually for necessities nowadays. Maybe when I was a kid, yeah, there was JCPenney's and all kinds of things down there. But nowadays, there's no necessity. Those are very niche businesses and restaurants for people that have money.
Right. And it's disposable income. We talked about this earlier in the show. The more disposable income people have, the more they spend. And that benefits everybody. And people really need to understand that. It's not tax breaks for rich people. It's tax breaks for everyone who pays taxes. That's what you want to have. And you want to have the ability to use the resources that we have to make us all wealthier and to make our lives better generally, you know?
I would agree. We have a lot of natural resources in this county. And a lot of those are being stopped by policies coming out of Salem. And I would love to get those policies changed. That's why we need a different type of governor, because a governor gets to pick the agency directors. And guess what? That changes the mindset of how we're going to go. Because if we have so much gold and different kind of resources in the ground and rock and all kinds of things here in this valley, that we could be putting people to work and making money for this. And then not even that's not even counting the trees we can be. Yeah. There's so much resources here, and trees are a renewable resource. I look at them like crops. Now, you don't harvest them every year, but if you do them in a good cycle, you're having every 30, 40 years, they're coming back, and you're kind of
Lars Larson talks about this all the time on his show, and it's sustainable. And even if you go back to the O&C Act, the O&C Act even mentions sustainable harvest. And what that means is that it doesn't mean you clear cut everything. It means you cut enough that the forest can reproduce every year, and you can do it forever.
Yeah, my dad was in the logging business. You know, you drove a log truck and work in the mill. And I was always told that every tree we cut, we plant 4 back. And that's just because we had these people that came back and they were planting trees where we were cutting trees. And then those trees, and you see these different sized trees because we managed the forest and we brought down the brush and the fires. We didn't have those as a child here. I don't remember forest fires like we do now.
Yeah, seems like every year.
And so we were managing our forest in a real healthy way, being good stewards of the land. And then we had wood to build and wood to do things we need to do with, had jobs. And it just, that cycle. And people profited from them. And they made it. I remember people being able to drop out of high school, which I'm not asking people to drop out of high school, and they could go get a job. My brothers worked in the mill before, during college. That's how they made money. You can make some pretty good money working in the mill, swing shift, plywood or whatever. And it's hard work, but you made some money. Now, what does a kid do for summer?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go to make a good profit amount of money. And then the education's gone up in price. And it's just constantly, I'm meeting people every day that want to move out of this county or this state. And it really hurts because I love this place.
I do too. But I also see the handwriting on the wall, and I don't see anybody going up to paint over it, and it's like.
Well, I think that goes back to the beginning of why I fight so hard. I want to change. And is it going to benefit me to sit on my hands up there in Salem and vote for Democratic bills that I know are going to be bad? No, it benefits me, benefits all of us if I voice, some reason to these people. I'm going to stand up for not. And we had this thing up there is like, if you vote for kind of bad bills, they eventually just keep bringing them back every year, and eventually they're just one big bad bill. That's what they do. It's slow. It's 1,000 cuts. And that's what's happening over time is these every year, more cuts, more cuts. And Republicans have gone along with it. And that's why I see some Republicans, they don't want me to expose them because it exposes them, exposes the weakness in this. We need people to stand up and say hard things every day and say, these are bad policies for people. I always look at this as people. When I'm looking at thinking, I want to look at freedom, low taxes, you to make choices for your family, your children, those things, not big government. That's socialism. I will never vote for socialism. They want a single payer healthcare system. They're bragging about it. That's what they want here in Oregon. Our hospitals are suffering so bad here. We got like 0.5% margin at Asante here. Yeah. 0.5% margin. How's it when you have so many people on government health insurance? That's not healthy. There's no profit involved there. You're not getting the best treatment anymore. There's just so much things.
And if you want a little preview of what that would be like, all you have to do is look at Canada. I posted something on my Facebook page, I think it was yesterday. Some guy who was from Alberta, and his wife had cancer. And, they basically told her up there, well, the best that we can offer you is MAID. And if you know about Canadian healthcare, MAID is medical assistance in dying. They offered her suicide, basically. And, her and her husband got their act together and came down to the U.S. and she got treatment, and she's alive and doing well. Now
that's what a single payer system of government healthcare would do. They're going to pick, you're older.
Yeah.
Your life expectancy is not long. We're not going to do the surgery for you. We're going to do it for these people over here.
Oh, listen, and I can speak to that because my wife has had 2 joint replacement surgeries. And so she hangs out on all these joint replacement forums on Facebook. Well, a lot of these people are from different parts of the world, and there is people in utter agony. And let me tell you something. When my wife was, her hip was gone and, it was unquestionable that she needed a replacement, the pain, I almost didn't want to be in the same room with her because it was freaking me out. She was obviously suffering very badly. And even so, she had to, wait about a month for this opening to come up. But I took her to Utah and paid to have the surgery done out of pocket. And these people in other countries, and by the way, this whole thing where the pain was starting to get worse, that was only a couple of months. but it was really bad. Some of these people are years.
Yeah, that's what socialism and healthcare is.
And they just give them painkillers. They hop them up on painkillers, and that's not a solution. And a lot of these people on these forums that she's watching, they're talking about killing themselves. You know, that's the future of that. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take this totally down a socialized medicine route, but you know, I mean, that gets me riled up because I can see the direct connection to my own circumstance, and you know, and I don't want that for my future.
We have a system here in Oregon. You can't open up a treatment. You can't. The government here in Oregon is so controlling about anybody opening up or doing certain things or expanding things. They have such control over everything here. It is a very government heavy. I kind of laugh when we have these protesters downtown, the No Kings thing, because they really don't understand Oregon government, because Oregon government is the most strict government when it comes to health care or certain things or telling you what's good for your children or education. That is a dictatorship. That's a king or queen in my mind. I'm looking at things as freedom of choice, you know, freedom to put your kid where you think and spend your tax dollars for your children. You know, school choices, you to pick your doctor. I know Obama's failed on that. You could keep your doctor kind of a thing. Yeah. But those are the things I look at. But that's not the way we're going. We're going all government and control.
Well, they're going to sell it to you with rosy promises. And that ain't going to be the way it is.
When the only people are going to get what they want are the super rich, which they always hate.
Right. Yeah, and it's because those people can go pay out of pocket anytime they want. Now, I will tell you, by the way, that paying for a lot of your surgical medical care through private doctors that have their own little surgery centers and do that is way cheaper. It's a much better way to go. And these people do nothing but these type of surgeries, so they're really, really good at it. And that's better than being on a waiting list for years and suffering for years. Believe me, if you knew that was going to be your future, you'd whip out a credit card and go pay these people to do it right now.
Let's leave it even further than that. So I sit up there, and what our state's worried about is when we need doctors and nurses and special people, they're worried about how diverse they are, though. You know, me, yes. I don't care if my doctor's from India or he's Asian or he's black or whatever else.
Just put my leg back on, doc.
I want the best doctor. I don't care to fix me. And I've had a lot of surgeries. You know, I got some disabilities from the military, 3 elbow surgeries, a leg surgery. I had a tumor removed in my leg bone. You know, I've had some back problems. And I don't really care. I want the best doctor that's going to do the job that I need to be done to put me back together as much as possible. But in our state, we're working for diverse, and that kind of chuckled because I heard that word last week in the commissioners meeting. We're looking for more diverse people on the budget committee, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Did you steal the Democrat talking points?
Yes.
And I'm hearing these talking points. You said it before. You're talking about these two groups, and I'm hearing these talking points come from the other diverse. Voice of reason. We need more diversity. You know, we can all get along. Those are talking points that I hear from the left constantly up there, which they're kind of false because they diverse. What does that really? It means you're being racist is what you're
right.
being.
Yeah, it means the color of you have to have some variance in the color of these people. We don't care about their abilities.
No,
that's just stupid.
Yeah, we're gonna give them more money for college and all this other thing. There's always something in dividing us instead of bringing us together as human beings. And I look at it as like, well, I don't really care. I want the best person possible and all these things. I want the best teachers. Right. You know, I want teachers that understand the children. Last year I wrote a press release because Portland State University was, and again, it's me voicing, they were discriminating against white people. And I don't know if you read my press release, but I put it on my social media that Portland State says that all white people are, you know, basically we're privileged and we have, you know, this kind of thinking, we're all alike. So they're not taking each one of us at a value.
Yeah, that was another talking point that came out of that meeting here downtown the other day.
Yes. I'm like, well, you're stereotyping. If I did that to somebody else, if it looks different than me, I would be considered racist. And that's what I look at when the other side's doing it and trying to say, well, all you white people are the same. Well, no, we're not all the same. We all have to. Clearly, we have. And how is that molded? It's, through our, life things, what our family, maybe things we've been exposed to, maybe we're in the military, maybe we want, or we've lived in the United States. There's all kinds of things that bring us in together.
Yeah, the diversity they are interested in is skin color or, ethnic persuasion, not of thought.
Not a thought, exactly.
Not of thought. And so when I'm standing up there in the House of Representatives, I'm calling out because it's last year we had 2 bills on the floor. I think it's 3069. I'm going to get the numbers wrong. There are 2 House bills. There are workforce bills, but inside these workforce is you must hire a certain type of person or workforce diversity, and they have to be of a certain color or native or women and all these things like that, which are unconstitutional. The Supreme Court came out and said you can't do these things. And so I had what's called why can't these bills be disqualified on constitutional basis?
They were, and I actually was able to. What the process was, I kept telling them these were, and what I did is I called a minority report. I had a different version. What a minority report is when we call it out in the committee and say, hey, we're going to do a minority report. We're going to fix these things the way we think is the opposite side of how they should look. So I did a minority report. Legal went through and pulled all the unconstitutional things out. Still going to be a workforce bill. And I also had opinions from legal that said these bills that they had were unconstitutional because you can't do it on someone's race, color, whatever.
Right.
And
it's discrimination.
It's discrimination. They instead of debating them, they pulled them off the floor and they died, which was good. That's a success. When you talk about my success, that's the success. I'm calling out these unconstitutional things that discriminate. That you go down to the local workforce and you have to look like a certain person. Well, no, we need to. I mean, do you need a job? Are you looking for this? We're going to help you.
Can you do this?
We're going to help you. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I care, can you do this? Yeah. Is this, can you become part of this program or whatever it is? That's what I want for people. I mean, obviously there's certain sections that have more minorities than others, but that kind of balances out if you look at this color blindness and say, hey, we're going to help people. But you have to have strong morals up there to do these things and call people out and not be afraid that someone's going to call you racist or whatever else. I don't care about that. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's right.
That's just a control tool.
Yes.
Because they know that people that are intimidated by that, when they throw that out there, they're going to cave and fall in line.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to, we're going to call you this and you're going to feel like you're a bad. I know I'm not.
Yes. Right. But then you're going to want to prove it to them by agreeing with them, and that's where they get you on that one.
Exactly. Again, it kind of goes back to the weakness. I look at some people as you're caving, you're surrendering to their agenda. And I'm not going to surrender their agenda. I'm always going to stand strong on what I think is right. And again, I might get it wrong once in a while, but I'm going to surrender. I'm not going to surrender to their ideology. I'm going to stand firm. One of my greatest friends up there right now is Virgil Osborne. He's in Roseburg. He's half black.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Virgil's half black.
I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Here's a story about him. So he's adopted, but his biological father was part of the crew of Martin Luther King. He was one of the right-hand mans of Martin Luther King in the back in the day. He's from Georgia. His father is. His mom's white. She lives in Arizona. I got to meet his mom. I have never met his dad, but he was adopted when he was a baby. His mom gave him up, but he knows his mom. His adoptive parents have died, passed away by now, and so he's reconnected with them a little bit. And so his mom was up in Douglas County here in January, and I got to meet her, and nice little lady and stuff. But Virgil, I love Virgil on the floor because Virgil takes this stuff that we've just been talking on. He takes it right on. He takes it right on and goes and calls it out for what it is, because Virgil's worked his whole life, is a hard-working person. He's been successful, working hard. He's saved. There's some sad story with his wife. His wife's got dementia, but he always is about his actions and working hard, not because of a skin color or you should give this to me. And I love that about Virgil. I like him for what he is, what he does every day. And that's how I measure my friendship with him, is he's a good person.
Right.
He doesn't care about whatever, what you look like or whatever else. He looks at you as your actions,
right,
and judges them off of those things. That's how I think everybody should look. Is like, well, how do you treat people? How do you look at people? How do and I'm not saying you have to agree with everybody, and you're not going to agree with some people, and sometimes you probably want to avoid people because they're just toxic or whatever. But my looking at you is exactly how that is. Even up there, like I said, I've worked with some of the people that are, I hate the word LGBTQ, but gay guys or whatever else. And if we can align on some things, I'll work with you.
Hey.
If not, I'm not going to work with you.
My brother, my oldest brother, was gay, and he died back in the early part of the AIDS crisis there in San Francisco. And I worked for his plumbing business. He had a plumbing business in San Francisco. So, and not all, but a good portion of his clientele was gay, because the gay community, they all stick together.
San Francisco,
you see such a wide diversity, and I'm not talking of color. I'm talking about of opinion and thought inside the gay community. There's plenty of gay Republicans. I'll tell you that.
There is some lesbian ladies that love me here in this town. I'm not going to call out what their names are, but they've donated money to my campaign. They always come and give me a hug, and I just love them. We're like 80-20s, I call them, because we're about 80%. They weren't from Oregon originally, but they've come here. They've been here, and I love these two ladies. They're staunch conservatives. They want small government. They want to stop being taxed, and they hate all this social garbage, ideology stuff, and they just want to be treated like everybody else. And I'm just like,
you have to be very, very careful about putting people in boxes.
Yes,
because whenever you speak to an individual will typically have an individual story.
I just love these. There's many things we don't agree with, but there's so much we agree upon, because they want a lot of the same things that I want when it comes to freedom.
Right.
These freedom things, and it's great because we can agree upon all these things. They really hate big government, and it's just, and they hate Tina Kotek. I just love it.
Well, we've lost track of time here, clearly. Thanks for joining me, Dwayne, and you'll get the opportunity to vote for Dwayne on May 19th. Maybe there's a runoff in November, maybe not, huh?
Well, right now it's a Republican runoff.
Oh, I see.
So it's a primary.
Are there Democrat candidates running?
There is a Democrat running.
Oh, okay.
But they're not unopposed, so they don't have another. So it's gonna be Republicans, Democrats, and if you're independent NAV, then you just go right straight to November.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is just a primary.
Yep.
So Republicans will run against Republicans, and so the next person moves forward. That's how it works.
Well, there you go. So May 19th. And you'll have that opportunity. And thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.